Greetings, fellow Terrans. Professor McKee here with a tutorial for Terra Invicta. We finance professors have hobbies. One of mine is playing Terra Invicta. I'm creating a collection of tips I've learned while playing this game in case you want to have a study break and fight off an alien invasion. Today's guide is about what early game research you should pursue besides the ones you need for the initial push into establishing a presence in space. Terra Invicta is a great game, but the tech tree is massive. And this is just a global text. There's all the projects that are unlocked by these global texts as well. So I'm going to walk through several of the key global texts and projects that you should prioritize in the early game. The key ones are the project that unlocks your 5th councilor, the projects that give you more organizations in your market, and the early projects that allow you to increase your control point cap. That lets you control more countries. You gain more resources by controlling more countries. So, the first one is for the 5th councilor. And in order to do that, you need to get We Are Not Alone, 500 science in social science, and this unlocks clandestine cells. That is the one you need. Clandestine cells gives you an additional councilor. It also gives you 10 extra control points, so you get more control capacity, and you get a councilor. The councilor's admin, persuasion, and command will also give you more control point management capacity too, so it's even more than just 10. And this is pretty easy to get because, well, We Are Not Alone starts out as one of the main 3 global attacks, so it'll finish, and once it finishes, the project will quickly unlock, and it's such an important project you should probably just switch in that project and immediately prioritize it, because getting your 5th councilor up is so important. This is a turn-based-ish type game. Extra actions are always really powerful. Okay, so this one you don't really have to do anything with the global text. It'll happen automatically for you even if you don't realize that you should be prioritizing it. Next up are orgs. So organizations are great ways to boost your councilor's stats, add missions that they're missing. They can give you all sorts of global bonuses on research, investment, priorities for countries. There's all sorts of things these orgs can do, but the orgs that show up in the marketplace here for you to purchase are randomly generated. There's some fixed ones based on real-life government organizations or well, I don't think there's anything from corporations, but there's some real-life things, there's some fictional ones that gets randomly generated, and then a random draw from this pool gets plopped into your marketplace. In previous patches, you could steal orgs from the other factions, and they have their own draw that they're getting from, so you'd have more sources here. Hostile takeover is harder to work. You can still do it, but it's more difficult now. The reason these techs are good is because they increase the number of orgs you draw each month when the org marketplace refreshes. So while you can still get unlucky and you get a bunch of junk, you have more chances to get useful organizations once you research these techs. So let's go to the tech tree. And the first one is Arrival Markets. Let's skip the full tree here. There we go. Arrival Markets. This project gives you an additional 5. In order to unlock it, you need Arrival Economics, which requires We Are Not Alone, so you already will get We Are Not Alone by doing clandestine cells. And then if you can pick Arrival economics is a good global tech to pick because you can get arrival markets. And arrival markets costs 1,000 social science. Arrival economics will cost 2,500 social science. That's the first one. The next one is coming from Arrival Domestic Politics. And it's called Institutional Outreach, right next to Arrival Markets. You also get another 5 orgs. So if you get both of these, you'll have an extra 10 orgs in your market each month. So a lot more chances for good orgs, and good orgs are really powerful. This one also costs 1,000 social science. Arrival Domestic Politics costs 2,000 social science. And it's again unlocked by We Are Not Alone, but you would already do that because you're going for clandestine cells. So a lot of social science. Social science is actually quite powerful if you have research bonuses early game, because there's a bunch of early global and project techs that are in this category. Okay, so that is the market, the two things you want for orgs: institutional outreach and arrival markets. Then lastly, there are some additional techs beyond clandestine cells that increase your control point cap. Now, your councilors leveling up, if they level up in those 3 relevant stats, will increase your cap over time. But these will just give you a flat-out bonus. So the first one, right here, is Corridor Diplomacy. So it gives you actually 2 things that are really useful. So it gives you the 10 control point management capacity. It also reduces cooldowns on changing relationships between nations. And if you're going to be doing some things involving unification, bringing countries into federations and doing it peacefully, then this is going to be helpful in making this faster. If you need to bring some countries into the European Union because you're playing the European Union start, then this is a nice tech, and it'll speed things up unless you're using a military to force people to join the European Union. So this will cost you 1,000 social science. You have to get Arrival International Relations. That's another 5,000 social science. And this is unlocked by We Are Not Alone. Again, you're going to have that. So this is even more social science. One thing to note is that Corridor Diplomacy has this 80% here. This means if you contributed nothing to international relations, you would have only an 80% chance that this project becomes available for you, ever. You can maybe steal it from an AI. Now, as long as you contribute at least 20% to the global tech that opens it up, so 20% of 5,000, you will be able to get that tech for sure. And 20% is not that much. It's just going to be, 10,000 is 500, so it's going to be just 1,000 out of the 5,000. But just keep that in mind. You'll need to maybe put some extra research into this global tech just to make sure you get Corridor Diplomacy, because losing out on 10 control point capacity is going to be unfortunate. In terms of efficiency, you're paying 5,000 here, you're paying 1,000 here, so 6,000 research for 10 control point capacity. You're paying 600 research. Of course, you also get that diplomatic bonus too. Next one is transnational coordination. There's a couple of transnational ones. So this one is a little more expensive. It's 10,000 for the project. However, it gives you 40. So it gives you a lot of control point capacity. Now, this requires advanced neural networks. This is a global tech, which requires photonic computing. So you need 5,000 for advanced neural networks. You need 1,500 for photonic computing. When you add those all up, you're going to get up to 16,500, but over 40 control points, it's going to cost you 412 research per control point. that you're getting. So it's actually more efficient than the corridor diplomacy. It's also guaranteed. It's 100% chance to unlock. And these are techs that you will need, so the neural networks is going to give you various things that you will want later on. So you're not losing out by investing in these global techs. These are just good ones to go after if you're able to control the next choice for global techs. And then last one, that's a kind of a unique one, global command structure. So this one is a social science now, costs 2,500 and gives you 40 control point capacity. Now you have to get independence movements, which requires domestic politics and arrival sociology. So you're burning a lot of tech here, right? So 2,500 for global command structure, 5,000 for independence movements, and then 2,000 and 2,500 for the other two. Arrival domestic politics you're already going to do, right? Because you want the institutional outreach. So you're double dipping by going for arrival domestic politics. So ignoring this cost because you're already paying for it somewhere else, you're paying 10,000 social science research to get 40 control point capacity. That's 250 research per control point capacity. It's even more efficient than transnational coordination. And also, again, a social science tech. And then lastly, there's a few other ones you might consider, although I don't consider them as critical. So management research, this is a generic one that is available immediately. You pay 1,000, you get 5. So in terms of efficiency, you get 200 research per control point, and then each time you complete it, you can do it again, but it's going to cost an extra 1,000. So then it'll be 400 the second time, and then 600 per research per control point. So it does look efficient, at least for the first couple, but it's a project and it's a dead end. So all the research you spent here will not be advancing the global tech tree. And remember, we had that double dip with the arrival domestic politics. You're not going to get that if you go for this. So I wouldn't recommend going for this. You should prioritize things that will advance the tech tree for later on techs that you will need too. And if you have access, this might be worth getting, especially the first one, because it's really efficient. There's technically one more that might be available early on. Civilian photonic computing. So if you get photonic computing, which you're going to get already, and you get arrival economics, which again you're going to get already, you might unlock civilian photonic computing. It has a pretty low chance of unlocking, only 40% base chance. Now this will be a little bit higher because you're going to be investing in these two global techs, but it's probably a coin flip if it shows up. If it does, it's also really expensive. It costs 10,000. Computing, 10,000 information science. So if you do 10,000 divided by 10, it's going to cost 1,000 per control point cap. It's not very efficient, and it has a very low, well, about a 50-50 chance to unlock. So you probably don't want to wait until you can get 10,000 science early game, because it's going to be hard to do that, and it's going to slow you down everywhere else. But if you do get this tech, it's an option. If you have lots of bonuses in information science and projects and extra room, you won't have extra room though. So you probably want to avoid this one if you do see it, just because of how inefficient and expensive it is. And it's also, again, it's a dead end. It's not going to help you get any additional projects. So the next time you are picking out global techs, when you're starting out for Terra Invicta, you now know some of the key global techs to choose and some of the key projects that those techs unlock. If you found this video helpful for your study break, please comment, like, and/or subscribe so that others can find this video too. happy not studying, or dealing with an alien invasion.